Hey, here we are, hot off the press, ready to roll, and so excited. We've got the wizard himself, Mr. Eldar Cohen, is back, and let me pop him in. There he is.
Um,
Dude, there
you
you
for
are.
having me.
Hey, man, it's always good to have you on board. Love it.
That
And,
is
Eldar and I were just talking before we went live, so sorry we were a little late, but yeah, I was just expressing, I didn't know Eldar is actually in Israel right now. And so, always, our hearts and hopes, best of everything going out to you folks in Israel. And,
thank
got our
you.
support here anyway. And I don't know if there's anything we can do. I'm not even sure, what we could do to kind of help the situation. But
It's all good. I think just like the support aspect of things, it's really nice. Actually, for the first time in many years, I really feel the support of my American friends, the American culture as a whole, versus other
yeah,
events that have happened. So I think this time the whole world really understand the horror and like that crazy situation. So it's something that hasn't been like this in almost 50 years. Um, it's equivalent to almost 30 times 9/11. I mean, it's a
right,
mega
right.
disaster.
Yeah.
Um, so it's really nice, and I mean on that aspect, and see the support and things you mentioned. So I really appreciate that, and I really feel like kind of hugged by everybody, and it
Yeah,
was nice to
yeah,
see people reaching out and asking because I'm here right now, which
yeah, I
we're
know.
to be here, but I mean, especially when you have options, right?
Yeah.
um,
Well, that's why I was shocked when you said, "Yeah, I'm here." I'm like, "What? Wow, serious? Wow."
yeah, I mean, like all of my buddies, like people that came here for summer, they all like, they flew away. They're
Yeah.
like, you know,
Well, I was just chatting with Mark Robb yesterday, and he was like, "Yeah, I was just there, and we got out." I'm like, "Yeah, good,
yeah,
smart." And yeah,
it's the first flight out. I
yeah. Well,
mean,
all right, man. Well, we got your back. We're here for you. All right, buddy.
oh man,
Um, all
something.
right. So I will hit people. Like, share, follow, all of that kind of fun stuff, whether in YouTube or in Facebook. If you have questions for Eldar, we go ahead and roll them up in the comments, and we will get them flashed up there. We got some folks on here. Adam Rahan, hello to you. Got some Solterra Web Services. So we got Solterra over on their YouTube, and then I also got from Solterra Terry Samuels. Team
Up
Team
there.
Samuels, man, they're all good. That is a good show going on there. All right, we got Jordan. Hey, Jordan, good to see you, man. Thanks for hanging out with us. A few others on here. Radu, all right. Wow, I like that dog. I don't know what that dog is. That is a good looking dog, though. All right, so here we are. So Eldar is back. We had Eldar on, I don't know, a few months ago, and had a great show, a lot of great comments, good conversation on a lot of stuff. And so I thought, hey, let's get Eldar back in the scene. Let's see what else is going on with my man. Eldar, I'm gonna lead it off with the first question here. And I got to ask you, the wizard and the wizard hat. What is the story behind that?
Behind the hat. Well, several years ago when I was looking to create a brand, and actually, I wonder which. Oh, this is one of my first. What, like this 2 years ago? This is 1 year ago. This is I think back.
Yeah, I don't know. This is one of the first videos I found that had you with the hat on it. I'm like, oh man, what is this guy?
So the story is that I was looking to be different, and I was looking to really heavily brand myself. So when I was looking to brand myself, I figured out that my brand is going to be Local Wiz, and I need
Yeah,
to have some kind of a tool, some kind of a prop that will actually help me to enhance the branding aspect of everything. Now, there's a saying, right, that people remember photos, they remember object, but they don't remember words. So I was looking for something that is big, that is massive, that is vibrant, that is, when you see it, you're like, whoa, what's that? So
Distinctive too, right?
yeah,
The purple wizard hat, right? Yeah.
like big ass, hat. So I could like have a little small one, but I was looking for one that covers the whole screen. And it all took from there, I kind of got myself identified with the wizard, and the whole theme started, and I was doing like some surrealistic images around it. And, every time I was like doing an appearance, I would, wear the hat. And it's a gimmick, right? It's a gimmick. And I think one of the biggest thing that we got to do as a marketing agencies, we got to figure out how we can market ourselves before we can market others. And we see this all the time where somebody's going to try to market something, but they never really market their own. And it's kind of bizarre to me because you got to do this thing on your own, right? Like, how can you teach somebody to run or whatever, teach somebody to ride a bike, but you never did it? So that was kind of the thing. And, my agency prior to that was weak, to be honest. It was weak. It was inconsistent. It wasn't really great. And once I did the rebranding and I stick to it and I did it consistently, which we kind of talked about just a few moments ago about the importance of consistent, this is where everything took off. And yeah, I should have had the hat somewhere here.
Yeah, no kidding. I was hoping I'd see the hat. That would have been good. Well, I completely agree, and I think you're, similar. Before we even started going live here, we were just talking about, why I started this hot off the press, and I had another podcast. It's on hiatus right now, so it's not ended. We're just taking a break, called Running the Bases, and I was just sharing as well, kind of along the lines what Eldar, what you're just talking about. The reason why I started hot off the press was because I wanted to continue to expand the brand of the news guy, right? And how we could build that brand and build our press release services. And so this was one of those. I don't have the, it's just my bald head. I don't have some great other gimmick that I can roll out there, but I did like the, now I'm kind of curious. So like you said, the Local Wiz, that was kind of your brand you were going to kind of roll with. Did you bounce that idea off of people? Like when I was thinking about the news guy, I had about 10 different names that I had been kicking around. I asked my wife, what do you think of this? And I asked Terry Samuels, I think. I asked a few other people. I'm like, hey, what do you think of this? If these are what I'm thinking about. And people came back like, the news guy, except my wife is like, I don't know. That sounds, you might get, it sounds a little sexist. I'm like, what? So probably in every other aspect of my life, I always take my wife's advice. This one, I decided like, I think I like the news guy. And a lot of people say, yeah, the news guy. So, but did you kind of go that same route when you were thinking about Local Wiz?
Not really on that one, because that just clicked. It was one of those things, like I had an epiphany. It was like Local Wiz. It was just like that. It was like, that is it. And it was a process of, I think, several weeks of me like thinking, but nothing was like, nothing really struck me. So when, that came along, I was like, boom, that is it. And then I was like, okay, now how can I make it, really having the wow effect, and making it like impressive in a way, not necessarily impressive, but making it like, like a dazzle. Like that's, stuff I always talk about. Like you want to make it like somebody want to look at it as, whoa, and I felt it has the wow effect, and that's why I proceed with it.
Oh, it's good. I love it. Branding is really critical. And there's so many folks in here even now, Terry or Jordan, you guys have done various kinds of things with branding, and love to hear your thoughts on it. I'm always curious on Terry. I've never asked Terry. I don't, maybe I have, about Solterra. I have a pretty good idea of the meaning behind it, but certainly would love to hear Terry's thoughts on it. But yeah, branding is critical because people do associate, and whether, to your point, whether it's a hat or something, whatever it is, but they will remember that. And I know, actually, I've talked with people like, hey, Eldar, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, oh, who's Eldar? I'm like, he was the guy with the wizard hat. Oh, yeah, that guy. Yeah.
They don't know me by name, but they know the hat. They've seen me.
The hat, right? Yes.
And, it's and that's what I was going for. I was going for something that is extremely memorable. They would give me a badge and they would give me that. So that's the word of search was really, really fun. I mean, that was
Where was that? Where was that event?
It was in Manila.
Oh, just recently? Like
3 weeks ago.
Okay.
September.
That was the one with William Jones, wasn't it? Was that one of his?
William Jones, Kirk, and it was like a bunch of really nice, like the speakers. Polymer was there. DVD was there. Like a lot of really nice, speakers, and the event itself was really fun. I mean, they did very well.
Right.
It was really cool, and it was really fun to be in the Philippines actually for the first time. I've
never been. I want to get down there. Yeah, I want to get there.
I think that now that I've seen it, so the second time I would want to go there, I'll be a lot more prepared, and it's going to be even much more fun. Because the first time you're like, whoa, what do I do? How do I go around? Where do I get money? Like, how do you do that? How do you do that? But it's really easy to get along. Everybody speaks English. So it makes it very easy. I mean, they speak English among themselves, which is kind of crazy to me. So it was really, really easy to get along with a lot of stuff. It was a really nice place. I'm looking forward to going there.
Well, I loved just this year, earlier this year, like in March, we started hiring some staff from the Philippines, and now I have a good number of them, and they just terrific. And because they speak English, and it's like, wow, this is such a step forward in being able to like drive the business and the operations, and it's so really great people. I'm just so happy with the staff. Love them. But I tell them like, I got to get going. I got to get over there to the Philippines. I probably should have gone to this conference. That way I could have really kind of written stuff off, and I could have. But I got staff like really dispersed around the Philippines. So, but yeah, anyway.
I brought everybody, to it. Like I brought everybody from all over. I flew people in. We were like 60 people. So it was really cool. It was nice. It was super cool.
So I have a question for you. This is going to get a little far left of field. Wait, maybe I'll flash up Jordan's comment here about branding. Branding is interesting because when I started, everyone labeled me as the GMB guy. But since I got into more cybersecurity, I've tried hard to reinvent my branding, but I still get pulled into GMB. Jordan, you got to come up with like, I don't know, some kind of a gimmick, right? With cybersecurity. Yeah. You got to be like JP Cyber Sleuth or something like that. I don't know,
/GMB.
Yeah. So I have to ask you a question, and I don't know if you see this. I love this comment, Robert. It's like, get the rest of the outfit and a one. That's good. So we talked William Jones. We mentioned him, and you also threw out Palmer. Just in the last, I don't know, couple of weeks, you got like this within the community, like SEOs kind of going at each other a little bit in public forums, on Facebook or in social. I'm like, I always find it really uncomfortable because oftentimes I know everybody that's in the game that's like throwing the daggers, right? And I'm like, I just don't get involved because I don't want to I don't know. I don't want to annoy anybody, but I don't know. I've never seen you get involved, and nobody's throwing anything at you anyway. The Wizard's a good guy, right?
I tried, like I'm not trying to pick up any beef with anybody. I just try to help.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
like, I don't want to.
I don't.
I don't understand like why there's. See, in my mind, there's also like really big abundance of things, right? So
Mm,
I don't think that we are stepping on each other's toes. I think we're actually empowering each other as long as we do things together and as long as we understand each other. There's enough sea, like there's enough sea for everybody, and there's enough fish in this beautiful, amazing, large ocean that we have. So I think a
yeah.
lot of people just step on each other's toes in a way. We
I don't
all do.
know.
I'm sure I did too, or sure I am in a way. But I mean, I personally, I hope I'll be like Switzerland. Like I don't want to get involved with anybody. I just want to be with good terms, just like what you said. What's up, Brian? Uh,
Good to see you, man. Brian was on last week as well. So Brian, go if you haven't seen Brian's show, some great stuff on there. Great discussion with Brian. But good to have you, Brian. Yeah, I agree. I think that I just want to be neutral, and I don't want to crash on anybody. And yeah, that's just
I'll tell you. I'll tell you where I think stuff really happens is when you have money involved,
mm,
and I think that if there's money involved, then a lot of like bad stuff happens a lot of times. So when
mm,
there's like different transactions between different people, and then one is not happy and the other one is, and this is where the challenge really happens, and then there's a lot of like collision, right? And we can see it even between friends, and like when there's money involved, and now the expectations doesn't line up, then somebody's upset about this person and then this person,
right.
and a lot of times we do deal between the community. I mean, between us, right? So like I'll purchase this from this and that, and he will purchase that from that. So then something doesn't line up, or yeah. So I think when
Yeah.
some money is
I do agree.
involved.
I believe I have an abundance mindset, and I just think there is no limit to business, to money, to good things. It is so. You just I don't. Anyway,
Sure.
all right. Well, we'll get off of that. Hey, so the last time you were on, and people, let me pop this up. People were with us, and we walked through. By the way, I love this program of yours, Local Dominator. Use it heavily in our operation, and so you and Jordan, right? You're kind of the GMB local ranking guy wizards. Jordan, I'm
Yeah.
still gonna. Jordan's probably like, don't throw me with the GMB. But you have so much knowledge, right? So, let's
Yeah.
talk a little bit more
I want
about
to.
local ranking. Yeah.
So because you mentioned like fighting and stuff, so when I met Jordan for the first time personally in the event, so he was also doing with Geomappy, right? And the first thing I did after the event, I was like, "Hey, Jordan, we should talk." So instead of like, "Whoa, whoa, there's somebody," I was like, "Jordan, let's talk." And then, we became friends. And instead of like, "Whoa, this guy, he's doing something similar or whatnot," and he could done the same thing towards me. So instead of that, instead of like doing it this way, we went this way.
Yeah.
So I think that's how you create like, friendships and everybody prosper. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I agree. Yeah, it's like because I wrapped him with the GMB guy. I agree, by the way, everything what you're saying about that. There's a lot of folks that I'm friends with that are in the press release distribution services. I'm like, listen, we all kind of do our thing. We do it a bit differently, and it's all helpful to the industry, I think. So, hey,
Yeah.
do some business with me, do some business with that guy. It's all good. I think and it's good for the individuals, right? So they can get a mix of different coverage as well. So,
Yeah.
um,
Exactly.
yeah, yeah. So let's talk a little bit about local ranking. I'm going to throw out, AI, right, is so like here, and there's so much stuff going on about with AI, rightfully so. I mean, it should be thought of. In your mind, with AI and with local ranking, curious on your input. Jordan, you can speak up as well. Curious on your thoughts. How, and thinking about local ranking, how can you utilize, or what would be the best way to maximize AI and all of the various tools available in AI to really impact local ranking?
Yeah. So I think that what now needs to be done is that, so I don't know what needs to be done for everybody. I know what needs to be done for me, right? So uh, recently I decided that I'm going to launch a course to help the users for Local Dominator. So I was looking at all of our SOPs and looking at a lot of stuff, and I was going to start to analyze it. And I was like, whoa, wait a second. This is redundant, right? So I have 2, 3, 4, 5 things happening, like the same thing happen across multiple sites and multiple things. So now the question is, how can we get it faster? How can we get it more precise? And how we can actually have an AI do it instead of having somebody do that. So instead of having somebody do that 10 times, I need to have somebody click on a mouse 10 times to get that output, to be more efficient, to be able to do more. And essentially the AI is here to help us as humans to get better performance, to enhance everything that we do. And the AI is good as the person that operates it, right? And when it comes for local, what I did, for the course and for other stuff that I'm doing, I looked at patterns that I noticed within my work mainly. And then when I recognized a pattern, I went and I created a prompt based on that pattern. And it can be anything like from your titles, your meta titles, your content, and you just want to figure out, okay, there's a pattern. How can I make the AI now create this thing based on that pattern? And I'll share with you, like, just it was last week that I was just working on a lot of prompts. I spent like hours on top of hours, like refining it. And once you do, you're like, whoa, this is really nice. Like, this is great. Now I get it in a click. Yeah, it took me like 5 hours to get this like stupid, like 3-sentence prompt. But I mean, now it's just duplicatable as much as I want. I swear, there was one prompt, 3 sentences. 3 sentences. It took me several hours to engineer it or to create it. And it's the little tweaks, like little changes when the 1, 2, 3 words, the way it understands. And I also, every time I do something, I also use Bard as well. So I always go between both of them. And it really works really well because, again, it works hand in hand. They're not competitors in my mind. It really works hand in hand. There's stuff that are done better in GPT and stuff that are done way better in Bard and vice versa. So I take the same prompt, I'll put it in both, I'll see what I'll get, and then from there, I'll dial it. I think if you don't use it today, then you'll become obsolete in a way. We're going to introduce some really cool stuff within Local Dominator as well with that, working on that. There's just not a way, right? It's adopt or drop.
Well, yeah, exactly. I think that it's interesting, and probably the thing to underline in what you just stated there is like, don't be afraid. Put in the time, craft the prompts to get the response that you're looking for, you feel very confident in, to whether that's whether it's impactful from an SEO standpoint or just a pure time saver to remove steps from your processes. But yeah, and I think sometimes I've talked with some people who like don't have the patience, or they just do one prompt. Well, yeah, that looks good, boom. And instead of really spending some good amount of effort and time to like really tweak it, really get the exact engineered prompt that you want, because it'll pay off dividends for you. I mean, so those prompts you've created, I mean, you could save 100 hours, right? On steps through your SOPs. So
Yeah, and get something that is much more precise. You don't have to think, right? You just
right,
feed the AI, you get back the output. They don't complain. You get whatever you want. You can do it 100 times. You can tell it like, now do it 50 times, now do it 100
yeah,
times. And
yeah,
then just so much more scalable.
yeah, yeah,
Now that we have the proof that AI content is actually ranking and Google does promote it and index it and actually let it, let it show in the SERP, there's really no other way. I mean, man, so I got a couple like text broker accounts from the old days before that. I used to use that a lot. And I mean, we had like several of them. And I was like, I was going through all like some passwords we were checking. I noticed I have some accounts. So I logged in and I noticed I have some credits. And I was like, how do I place an order here? And I was like, does it even worth placing an order? Because the time that I have to explain and create my brief, I can have an article already made. And then I have to
yeah,
go back. So I kind of forfeit.
yeah,
I forfeit. I was like, let me just go back and get my content that I need, and yeah. So it's one of those things you gotta adapt to it. Um, it's interesting. It's quite
yeah,
interesting.
yeah. I love the
Uh,
idea as well that you're using, because I do this as well, that you're using different platforms in combination. I like to use Claude. I don't know if you use Claude at all. So you mentioned Bard, but I usually will bounce between GPT and Claude. And sometimes I just like, if it's something quick that I like, okay, can you help me get it, like an idea or something? Boom, I'll just go to Claude because it seems like it's, I don't know why, it's at least on the way I have it on my bookmarked or whatever, it's more accessible, easier to do. But I often do similar to what, like I may create something in GPT and then I'll go and I'll place that same prompt in Claude, kind of see some results. And then maybe based on that, I might go back and tweak that prompt again just so I can see, and if I can, depending upon the results that you're getting with it. I think it's,
yeah.
but yeah, I think using those tools in combinations are good, and as well, like engineering. The great thing with Chat GPT now is that, and I use I can never remember what the full name of this AI. It's either RPM or PRM, but it's a platform
A-
that
is that the extension?
well, it is an extension. No, I'll have to go launch it so I can
I,
always. Yeah, it's it is the what is it? There's AIPRM for ChatGPT.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And and I use that a lot to do a lot of different things, and I think that is a great little platform. But with that though, then I can do all of the plugins within Chat, right? And so the PDF readers, the link reader, all the different stuff, and it's like, man, that is so amazing. It's
What's the
just,
crazy part? We just started. We
God,
just
I
started.
know, right? Yes.
Just started. That's crazy. Like, where would this go? I mean,
Yeah.
that is
Yeah.
that
I agree. I have no idea where it's, well,
just
I
started.
have no idea where it's going to go, but it is a little scary as well, right? Like, wow, what in the world? I I like to read the Wall Street Journal, and they had a interview, like it was like Tech Week or something, but with um, I think it's Sam Altman, the guy behind Chat
Mm.
GPT. And it was him and his chief technology officer. I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but if you go and you look like Wall Street Journal interview with Sam Altman, you'll find this thing. But they were talking about the next kind of level with their AG AGI, I think is what it is, but automated general intelligence, so that it's
Oh yeah, yeah.
this next level, that it's like chat and everything that we're seeing with AI augmentation is nothing compared to with what they are talking about and hope to see within the next decade. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I mean, it sounds a little like Terminator-esque kind of world, like, whoa, mind-blowing. Yeah, it's a little off-putting. And for me with kids, so I have kids that are in high school now, and I'm like, in 10 years, what will their world be like? It's a little spooky to me.
You know what's another thing that is all spooky? That all of this technology, in my mind, is dated. So everything that we have, ChatGPT, Bard, all of that stuff, this is something that was already available 10 years ago. It is only
Yes.
now available for us. But the question is, what is not available for us?
Yes.
And how
Yes.
far and how far that is going. So, in
Yeah.
a way, if you think about it, there is probably 10 more evolutions of this that we are unaware of. We think about the next dot while they have already did, 20 other dots ahead in the future. And I have no doubt that different agencies and different things have tools that are beyond of what we can even think of.
Yeah.
So in 10
Yeah.
years, man, I don't know.
No, I think you're absolutely right. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
crazy out
It's
there.
crazy.
Yeah.
All right. So there we go with that. What do you think about? We just went through, the last 2 months, like between August, October, we had some pretty serious Google algorithm updates.
Yeah.
I think August was the helpful content update. And then here in October, they just finished up doing the spam
Mhm.
update. Any thoughts, impressions at this point on
Yeah.
any of that? You kind of mentioned about AI content. I'm wondering if you're seeing AI content either being favored, having some favorable returns since the updates, or whether they've been negatively impacted.
So there's two things here. One, I think that throughout the last maybe 3 5 years, right? Google always give you the breadcrumbs of what is it, right? So they always give you those little steps. Every time there's an update, it's not like they have a rocket that just changed the way of the land and now everything is completely different. It's always another step. It's always a smaller step. And Google works very slow as a whole. It takes them a
Hmm.
long time to roll out stuff. Yes, we had a bunch of updates, but I mean, overall, they don't move real quick. And the things didn't really change significantly in the last several years. Let's just review it. What do they tell us? Make good websites, make a good content, create quality stuff. Essentially, this is what Google was looking for many years. Even when it was only links, supposedly it was get quality links, right? They just didn't have the filters to really, you know, um, have those quality filters. But today, in the last several years, all they tell you is just create good quality stuff and you will rank
Yeah.
by
Thanks,
area.
Derek.
So that's all we got to do. And, JP and I was talking about this the other day is like a lot of times you forget the fundamentals and you're going after those shiny objects and you're like, oh, let me get that one little thing and then you forget to freaking make sure that your meta tag, that your site is indexed, like basic stuff, like
Yeah.
sometimes
Yeah.
that I see. And I think that all of those updates, nothing major have changed. Like the same thing, the same sun shines, the same moon goes up. There
Right.
wasn't any significant change in my mind. They just tuned it up a little bit more, tune it up, and I think that if you create good quality, um, work on your websites from all aspects, you'll rank. As far as AI, I think it's just easier to crank volume with it. So a lot of times when we see a lot of stuff that ranks faster or different things, it's because in the past, it used to take us a lot of resources to create one article. Today, you create 5,000 words article in less than an hour, which used to take weeks. So that as a whole makes everything accelerated faster because you just crank the volume on what you do. So in my mind, that's like the biggest change when you're now using AI. You have an opportunity to rank faster and get things faster because it's easier to scale up the volume.
Right. Yeah, and I wonder with that volume, I've had this discussion with a few other people from time to time, is that because content is so readily available, people create now, I swear, just massive amount of content that's out on the web. And so because of that, it's kind of creating other issues along the way, meaning I think it's creating an issue for Google to index all of this stuff. And it's impacting, I think, indexing across the net, right? Regardless of what the content is. But it's just, it would be interesting to see how many more pages in the last 6 to 12 months or so since AI, since some of these tools, content generation tools have been out, what is the growth rate of content, during those months as compared to, say, a year ago before those tools came out? I would venture to say it's considerably higher, hockey stick, right? But the other thing is, I think eventually now the LLMs are, behind, they're not instantly like, oh, Eldar put out a piece of content 2 weeks ago, so now we're going to incorporate that into, our stuff. The LLMs aren't working that fast, right? So ChatGPT is not going to go see your content that you put up 2 weeks ago because it's just, it's not pulling that recent content yet, anyway. But I think eventually it will. And then it kind of speaks to the point of like, well, now you have ChatGPT responses at a certain point will be building off of ChatGPT responses, so it becomes this loop of ChatGPT responses responding to itself. I don't know. I think it'll be an interesting.
I won't really share much, but I can share with you that we're working on some stuff like that. That again, man, JP, we should bring him here. This is like we mentioned him again. Him and I was just talking about something. We're building something like that. Yes, you'll essentially let it run on its own. I mean,
but I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, right? I mean, is it good or is it bad? And I say the bad side of it is like, well, what if the content that chat or, these AI generators are pulling, which isn't maybe all necessarily that great a content to begin with. And so it's just like continuing to put it out there as like that it's authority content. And I don't know. Those are all the questions. I'm sure your tool that you and JP are working on will be fabulous. So.
Yeah. So essentially, I think Google still figure out today, they still have the ability to figure out quality and non-quality stuff. So in terms of indexing, I think that, yes, a lot of folks say it's a little harder to index, and I see it myself as well, but in only some cases. When we put a really good piece of content and we create a page that is well done, usually those get indexed right away. So you don't really feel the issues and the challenge that a lot of stuff happens. And from my experience, when a lot of times I was engaging in different groups and people say, oh, I don't have much index rate, and then you ask them to share their domain, then you see a lot of stuff that are just poor quality. Then obviously it's not going to get indexed. And this didn't change for the last several years. But now people just create way more of those poor quality stuff. And because if you'll go to GPT and you'll ask for 500 words article and you just slap it on your website, why would this get indexed? I mean, maybe it's a good content, but as is, it's not enough today, right? Today, we create content And let's say if we do a blog post, right? So the blog post is not just text anymore. It's text, it's images, it's videos, it's links between the page itself. It's different things.
Right.
So it's just not enough to have, boom, here's 500 words article. I want to rank #1 for kitchen remodeling in LA. I mean, that just doesn't work.
Doesn't work as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're really onto it, and I think you're absolutely right. It really comes down to foundations. And I was thinking about this and thinking about our conversation here today, and I remembered an article that came out, and I've got it up here just recently. I'm going to throw this in the chat as well. People can go check this out. So this was an article that came out, I think, last week. I don't know. There's probably a date on it somewhere. But it's this, the 17th. Who is this guy's name? Fabrice Canel. Let me pull this out. So this is an executive with Bing, is a principal product manager at Bing, right? And so he is managing and fully integrated with Bard with AI there. And this is there's a video in here. This is a great article, talks a lot about different stuff. But bottom line, though, was what I love about this article, and I just pulled out some of the bullet points around it, is, can't really see that all that well. I don't know if I can magnify this somehow or not. I'll drop this into the chat as well. But essentially it is this, Fabrice gives some guidance on how search professionals or SEOs get on board with certain ideas and practices to help continue to do SEO in the age of AI. I'll copy all of these bullet points and put them in the chat. But bottom line, if you would read through these, and I'm sorry, let me see if I can change it differently. Let me do it this way. That didn't work. Oh, I know what I'm going to do. Hold on. Let me put this over here. Maybe that's a little bit better. So, which is that if you can see these bullets, it's like, don't think as much about keyword matching. Now, this is this guy's take, right? So this is a guy from Bard. It's like, don't think as much as keyword matching, but rather use keywords to help the content become easier to understand what it's about. Consider verbs and how they're used. Links from AI search are qualified, they're on target. Use structured data. So it's Terry left, but he'd love that. Yeah, structured data schema, right? You got to use schema. But bottom line, if you look through all of these bullets, what this guy is talking about is that you have to, in the way, and if you look through the article, he's always just talking about, you have to make AI understand what your content is about. And it really kind of goes back to what you were saying, I think, which is all about fundamentals. And how can you create kind of breadcrumbs, so to speak, but how do you create aspects in your content creation and format to be able to tell the search engines and AI what the piece of content is about, and whether that's through the meta tags, the title tag, the schema, but you are absolutely getting focused on, this is what this content is about. And that will help with indexing, but it will help certainly with how your article gets picked up in the search generated AI searches. That makes sense.
Absolutely, it does. I think we can have there's going to be some more up and downs with AI for sure.
Sure.
There will be new discoveries coming in, new ways that this will be done, and it's going to improve. Like the tools around it are also improving. I mean, every day there's hundreds of tools coming in, about, how to do this with AI, how to do that with AI.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be interesting. I think it's gonna get more native and more native into the platforms that we use. And we shall see how the SEO will be. But right now, I don't think there's a major change. I think it just helps the industry as a whole.
Yeah. Well, and that's, there's always all of this conversation about, well, what's going to happen in terms of SEO, right? I think people are like, is SEO going to go away? Is it going to be challenged? I was trying to get these bullet points in there, but and I think that that's why I liked this article, because one of the things this guy says as well is, like, he says, the blue, now what they call the blue links in Bing, right? That the blue links are not going to go away, because people search for so many different intentions that that an AI generated response is not always going to cover all aspects. And I think that's true, because from a certain business standpoint, you got to remember, people come to Google or they come to Bing because they are looking for response to their need, to their search. And I think that Google or Bing or whoever is like, well, we can't limit our responses because we're here to try to serve as many as we can. And, if we start limiting, meaning like do away with the 10 organic listings, then we may be alienating people that are wanting to use our product and may go somewhere else. And at the end of the day, they are search engines, but at the end of the day, they need people coming onto their platforms to see their ads that they're serving up. So they can't close that door down.
It's going to be interesting to see how, once Google is going to roll like a major AI, SERP kind of looking, which is a matter of time, right? What's interesting will be, because now what we do in a way, we manipulate, the search engine, right? So we're going to have to figure a way to manipulate their AI in a more gaming way, in my mind. I think at some point we're going to have to change a couple of stuff. I don't know yet. Like, I don't know what is that going to be entail yet, but
right,
the SERP is not going to stay the same as is forever. It's
no, it's not.
It's going to change.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, well, and to what it changes, not exactly sure. So, well, here I've got Local Dominator. Anything you want to share about anything new on the horizon you'd like to give a little glimpse about, talk about before? I'm a big fan, so I'm like, yeah, whatever you got, man. Whatever you got, baby, bring it on.
So if we are already talking about AI, so we added an AI that goes hand in hand with it. If you scroll all the way down, there's now a section that talks about the AI. Scroll a little bit more. And this is something that I've kept for many years for myself as a proprietary tool, which is Local Wiz app. And we added AI to this. So now it comes hand in hand with Local Dominator. So people do get it for free as well. A little bit more down. And essentially, it's a long page. I know.
Where am I going here? I'm like going to the basement. There we are. I like the power of it.
Now what's going to happen is that essentially you'll track it in Local Dominator, and then, okay, chill. My dog is going nuts. And then you'll go to Local Wiz app and you'll create content that really ranks like crazy. I mean, this is just content on steroids. And I've been using this thing for many years, and just now I kind of made it more public, and we added the AI to it. We used to create a lot of the content on our own, and then at the back end, it was already optimized. So now there's like tons of stuff that this is doing. It creates pages on the website that are automatically being created. It's geotagging the images. It's optimizing, create inner links. You can create articles, create projects. I mean, it's really cool. You go in, you create an automated, AI article or a project, And then from the app, you go and you post it directly to Google My Business with the optimized image, with the links. I mean, that's just big. So this is something we just added a part of it. And then we are going to release a course and some other really, really cool tools that will come to Local Dominator, like prospecting tool that will be released very soon. Some more integration with Google My Business, and some other cool stuff that we're working on. So the next few months are going to be really, really exciting. I'll tell you this much.
Oh, man.
Really exciting.
Nice. I'm glad I'm on now, where I'm hopefully the stuff as a legacy subscriber, right? I'll jump in. Yeah, that's good. It's good. I love when you guys just continue to build and expand and improve your platforms and your products. I think that's always good. I get a little annoyed when sometimes you subscribe to stuff and it's like it hasn't changed in a year. I'm like, come on, there's so much. Yeah, well, that's good.
This was my challenge. Like this came from a pain point. Like when we created this, essentially this, Michael Rabin and I started this, and I took this. He started with continue with the education, but it all came from our challenge and struggle with a lot of the current. And you can see, like, for example, I compare a lot to Local Falcone and stuff. They haven't changed. A lot of the other didn't change for many, many years until we came to the market, and now there's more change coming in. Nobody is staying indifferent now, but you have to keep innovating, right? You have to come up with more stuff. And for me, I look at my agency, I'm like, what do I need? So that's like what's guiding me through this. And of course, we listen to what user wants and all of those things, and we innovate based on that.
Right.
So
nice. Well, good for you, man. Keep marching on. All right. I'm going to. Well, I will put the links. So we got Local Wiz Marketing. I'll drop that in there. So if people want to connect with Eldar, you can do. Here it's right on here to Local Dominator, man. That is just a beautiful piece of software right there. All right. And I don't know if anybody has any additional questions or anything for Eldar. We're probably going to wrap up here in just a sec. I do as well have to flash this up. Next week, we have Garrett Alcott coming on the show, which will be fun. Eldar, do you know Garrett?
Not personally, no. What is he all about?
Garrett is a very interesting guy. I'm sure he will ruffle some feathers next week. But he has several tools, and one which I use, but as well, I think it's great, called CTR Booster. And yes, and he has a number of tools. I'm gonna have to do some homework to figure out exactly what he has. But that'll be a good show with Garrett, though. So folks, check that out next Tuesday at 10 a.m. Let's see. That's about it. I got. Thanks, man, for being on. Hopefully, stay safe.
I appreciate having me. Thank you so much.
And obviously, we're wishing the best outcomes and peace over in your neighborhood there. So
thank you, man. I really appreciate the support. Thank you, Randy. I appreciate it.